Have you ever wondered what you would do if an entire room believed you were someone you weren't? Would you stop everyone immediately and explain the mistake, or would you stand there, stunned, wondering how things had gone so wrong? That question stopped being hypothetical for me the day I arrived at my college orientation. I wasn't trying to deceive anyone. I hadn't planned an elaborate joke, and I definitely wasn't looking for attention. All I wanted was a fresh start, a quiet first day where I could blend into the crowd and meet people without being judged. Instead, before I even had a chance to introduce myself, everything spiraled out of control. The auditorium microphone screeched, drawing the attention of hundreds of freshmen. The dean smiled warmly as he looked down at his paperwork. "Everyone, let's welcome our newest transfer student, Miss Adrienne Carter." The room burst into applause. I stood frozen. "Miss?" Surely he had read the wrong file. I opened my mouth to correct him, but it was too late. More than 300 students were clapping, cheering, and smiling at me. Someone shouted, "Welcome." Another voice from the back called out, "She's gorgeous." I couldn't even process what was happening. My name is Adrienne. I'm a guy. Always have been. Yet somehow, every person in that auditorium believed otherwise. Looking back, that single announcement became the beginning of the strangest week of my life. Oddly enough, it all started because of my younger sister. The evening before orientation, she begged me to help with her fashion design competition. Her assigned model had cancelled at the last minute, and she insisted I had almost the same height and build. I laughed immediately. "No way." She refused to give up. "I'll pay for your meals for a month." "No. I'll clean your room every weekend." Still no. Finally she smiled. "I'll tell Mom I broke the vase instead of you." I paused. "Go on." Half an hour later, I barely recognized myself. She had transformed me with a long brown wig, subtle makeup, a cream sweater, a pleated blue skirt, knee-high socks, and simple white sneakers. She stepped back and stared. "I can't believe this." "What?" "You actually look convincing." Before I could protest, she was already taking photos. "Delete those." "Never." "I'm serious." She only laughed harder. A moment later, our mom walked into the room. She blinked several times before smiling. "For a second, I thought one of your sister's friends had come over." I groaned. "Can I please change now?" "Not until the judges finish," my sister replied. The competition lasted another hour. Something unexpected happened during that time. People smiled at me. They started conversations naturally. No one criticized me or compared me with anyone else. Nobody cared whether I was athletic, outgoing, or popular. For the first time in years, I felt invisible in the best possible way. After the event ended, I couldn't wait to put my normal clothes back on. Unfortunately, life had other ideas. My sister suddenly remembered she'd left her design portfolio on campus. "We'll grab it tomorrow before your orientation," she said confidently. Easy enough. Except the next morning was a disaster. Traffic barely moved. Someone spilled coffee in the car. My sister realized she'd forgotten her student ID. Somehow my enrollment papers ended up mixed inside her folder. By the time we reached campus, we were already late. "I'll run for the portfolio," she said while jumping out of the car. "Just head inside. I'll meet you in 5 minutes." 5 minutes. That was the entire plan. Since changing clothes in the cramped car wasn't practical anymore, I hurried into the administration building still wearing the outfit from the competition. The receptionist glanced at my paperwork. "There you are," she said with relief. "We've been waiting." Before I could explain anything, she printed a temporary student badge and handed it to me. Across the front it read, "Miss Adrienne Carter. I think there's a mistake." "The dean is expecting you upstairs," she interrupted while pointing toward the auditorium. "They're introducing transfer students right now." I barely had time to react before a volunteer opened the auditorium doors. "You're next." Then my name echoed through the speakers. Walking onto that stage felt unreal. Every step sounded louder than the last. The dean shook my hand enthusiastically. "We're delighted you've joined us." "Thank you," I replied quietly, my nervousness making my voice softer than usual. Unfortunately, that only reinforced everyone's assumption. A girl whispered to her friend, "She's so cute." I wish the floor would swallow me whole. As soon as the introduction ended, the dean smiled again. Our student ambassador will help you settle in. A cheerful blonde hurried toward me. Hi. I'm Emma. She grabbed both of my hands. I'm showing you around today. Ask me anything. I actually need to explain something. Before I could continue, another volunteer called out. Emma, bring your group over here. She gently pulled me along. We'll talk later. We never did. Throughout the campus tour, Emma chatted non-stop about everything. The best professors, hidden study spots, cafeteria food, clubs, shortcuts between buildings, and places students secretly took naps. She was incredibly friendly. Eventually our group reached the student center. Another volunteer approached carrying brightly colored folders. Orientation packets for the girls. One landed directly in my hands. Inside were residence information, wellness resources, women's organizations, and activity schedules. I think you've given me the wrong. Perfect. Emma interrupted happily. We'll go through it together. At that point, I wasn't sure whether to laugh or panic. Lunch wasn't any easier. The cafeteria overflowed with students. Emma spotted 2 empty seats beside several girls and led me over. Within minutes everyone introduced themselves. Sophia, Lily, Jasmine, Chloe. They welcomed me without hesitation. Soon they were asking about my hometown, favorite movies, music, hobbies, and classes. No suspicion. No awkwardness. Just genuine friendliness. Then Sophia smiled mischievously. So. She leaned closer. Did you leave a boyfriend behind? I nearly choked on my drink. Everyone waited for my answer. No. Emma exchanged amused looks with the others. Perfect. Why? She grinned. Our campus has way too many single guys. The table erupted with laughter. I forced a weak smile while my mind raced. How was I supposed to explain this now? Would anyone honestly believe I had accidentally attended orientation wearing my sister's fashion contest outfit? That the administration had entered the wrong gender into the system? That every attempt to explain had been interrupted? It sounded unbelievable. And every minute I stayed silent, the misunderstanding became even bigger. By the end of the afternoon, people across campus already knew about the new transfer girl. I had a terrible feeling this situation was only beginning. The following morning, I decided enough was enough. I wore jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers. No wig. No makeup. No chance for confusion. Surely everything would be corrected. Confident, I arrived early and walked toward the main entrance. A security guard stepped in front of me. Sorry, you'll need to use Building C. I frowned. Why? The women's transfer orientation is already inside. The men's session is across campus. There must be some misunderstanding. Another guard examined my student ID. Adrian Carter. Yes. He checked his tablet. It lists you as female. My stomach dropped. The mistake wasn't limited to a temporary badge. The university database, class rosters, attendance records, and student profile all identified me as a woman. The guard shrugged. You can sort it out with the administration later. And just like that, instead of fixing the problem, I was sent right back to the place where the system insisted I belonged. When I stepped back into the auditorium, I hoped the day would finally be normal. That hope lasted about 3 seconds. She's here. Emma spotted me almost instantly. Before I could even say hello, she hurried over and gave me a quick hug. Where did you disappear to yesterday? She asked. I just went home after orientation. I was worried. Her smile was so sincere that correcting her felt impossible. Before I could explain, she was already leading me toward the others. We saved you a spot. Sophia shifted over on the bench, Lily handed me a bottle of water, and Jasmine patted the empty seat beside her. No one had ever done that for me before. At my old school, I was the person who quietly slipped into whichever chair nobody wanted. Here, people actually expected me to sit with them. That simple kindness made everything more complicated. Every friendly gesture made the truth feel heavier. Eventually, the orientation coordinator called everyone to attention. Now we'll separate into academic departments. Students split into different groups as signs for engineering, business, computer science, arts, and other majors were raised. Since I was studying computer science, I joined that line. While we waited, a tall student balancing a stack of textbooks approached. He had the relaxed confidence of someone who was used to being noticed. "First semester?" he asked, offering a handshake. "I'm a transfer." "Nice. I'm Ryan." "Audrey-Ann." We shook hands. For one brief moment, everything seemed perfectly ordinary. Then another student walked over. Ryan smiled. "This is the transfer student everyone keeps talking about." I almost coughed. His friend looked at me with obvious curiosity. So the rumors weren't exaggerated. "What rumors?" Ryan laughed. "Half the freshmen think you're the prettiest new student on campus." I stared at him. He wasn't kidding. As our department headed across campus, I became painfully aware of how many people were watching. Not in a cruel way. People smiled. Some nodded politely. Others stepped aside to let me pass. It felt strange. Back at my previous college, I could walk through a crowded hallway without a single person noticing. Now it seemed everyone already knew my face. By lunchtime, the stories had somehow become even more ridiculous. According to random students, I had transferred from another state. Someone claimed I spoke multiple languages. Someone else insisted I had rejected modeling contracts. Another person confidently declared I had graduated at the top of my previous university. The funniest part? I had never told anyone any of those things. The rumors had created themselves. Emma suddenly burst into laughter while looking at her phone. "You have a fan page." "What?" She turned the screen toward me. Someone had uploaded a blurry picture from orientation with the caption, "The mysterious transfer student everyone is talking about." The post already had thousands of views. Comments flooded beneath it. I covered my face. "This can't actually be happening." "Oh, it's definitely happening," Sophia said between laughs. "Everyone's trying to figure out who you are." Before I could recover, Ryan appeared again. "There you are." Emma folded her arms playfully. "What do you need?" Ryan scratched the back of his neck. "My study group is meeting tonight." Then he looked directly at me. "We've got an extra seat if you'd like to join." Emma glanced between us with an amused smile. Ryan's ears immediately turned bright red. "It's not a date." Sophia leaned forward dramatically. "It absolutely sounds like one." Ryan groaned. "I just thought she'd enjoy studying with us." I forced a smile. "Thanks, but I already promised Emma I'd finish some orientation paperwork." The excuse came out before I even thought about it. It wasn't true. It was simply the quickest way to escape. "No problem," Ryan replied. "Maybe another time." After he walked away, Emma couldn't stop laughing. "He likes you." "No, he doesn't." "Oh, he definitely does. We've known each other for 10 minutes. "Exactly." I buried my face in my hands. This situation is becoming ridiculous. Emma blinked. "What situation?" "Nothing." Later that afternoon, I finally marched into the administration building. This had gone on long enough. The receptionist greeted me politely. "How can I help?" "I need to correct my student information." "Certainly." She searched my student ID. A few seconds later, her expression changed. "That's odd." "What?" "Your original paperwork isn't here anymore." "It was yesterday." "It has already been forwarded to the records office." "Can you contact them?" "They've already closed for the weekend." "When will they reopen?" "Monday." I stared at the ceiling. Today was Friday. That meant I had 2 full days before anyone could even begin fixing the mistake. A laugh escaped before I could stop it. Not because anything was funny. Because frustration had run out of other ways to escape. When I stepped outside, dark clouds had already opened. Rain poured across the campus. Students sprinted between buildings while umbrellas appeared from every direction. Unfortunately, I didn't have one. Neither did Emma. She jogged over beside me. "Looks like we're stranded." "I guess so." She pointed toward the library entrance. "Come on." We hurried beneath the small overhang together. Rain pounded the pavement only a few feet away. For nearly a minute, Neither of us spoke. Finally, Emma broke the silence. Can I ask you something? Sure. You seem lonely. The words caught me completely off guard. What makes you think that? You smile all the time, she said softly. But your eyes never do. I looked away. My last college wasn't exactly a great experience. Were people cruel? Sometimes. She nodded slowly. I had a feeling. How? Because every time someone is kind to you. She smiled gently. You look surprised. She wasn't wrong. Not even a little. She wasn't talking to a fake identity. She wasn't speaking to some imaginary version of me. She was simply seeing a person who had spent too long expecting rejection. The rain eventually eased. Emma stood up. I'm really glad you transferred here. Her words stayed with me. Not because of the misunderstanding. Because she truly meant them. For the first time, a frightening question entered my mind. If everyone discovered the truth, would they feel betrayed? Would they think I had lied to them? Or would they understand that none of this had been intentional? Before I could think any further, I noticed someone across the parking lot raising a phone. A camera flashed. The picture was taken in an instant. I had no idea that image would spread across campus before the weekend ended. By Monday, nearly everyone would recognize my face. Almost nobody would know who I actually was. Saturday morning arrived with my phone vibrating non-stop. At first I feared something had happened to my family. Instead, every notification came from complete strangers. Friend requests. Direct messages. Mentions. Tags. Follow requests. I stared at the screen in disbelief. My sister walked into my room carrying breakfast. You look terrified. Without saying anything, I handed her the phone. She scrolled for several seconds. Then she burst into laughter. You're internet famous. What? She showed me the post. It was the photo taken outside the library. Emma and I stood under the tiny shelter, laughing while rain blurred the background. The caption read, "The mysterious transfer student everyone is talking about." The comments kept multiplying. She's beautiful. Does anyone know her socials? I heard she's from Boston. No, California. Someone said she's a coding genius. Apparently she tutors upperclassmen. Every rumor was more absurd than the one before it. None had even a grain of truth. My sister could barely breathe from laughing. I'm sorry. She wiped tears from her eyes. But this is incredible. It isn't. It kind of is. My entire university thinks I'm someone else. She shrugged. Then tell them. I've been trying. Try louder. I never get the opportunity. She grinned. Well, at least everyone seems to like you. Her words stayed in my head long after she left. Were people being kind because of who I was? Or because of the person they imagined I was? I couldn't answer that. Monday arrived sooner than I wanted. The atmosphere on campus had completely changed. People didn't just glance at me anymore. They recognized me. There she is. I knew she'd be here. That's the transfer student. One student nearly walked straight into a trash bin while staring. Another waved enthusiastically despite the fact we'd never spoken before. This had officially become ridiculous. Ignoring everyone, I headed directly to the administration office. No day tours. No conversations. This mistake ended today. The receptionist greeted me with a familiar smile. Good morning, Adrienne. Please tell me my records have been corrected. She checked the computer. A moment later, she frowned. That's strange. My heart sank. What now? The records department still hasn't processed your paperwork. I blinked. They've had the entire weekend. They're dealing with a backlog. When will it be finished? Hopefully tomorrow. Tomorrow. Again. I sighed. At this point it almost felt like fate itself wanted the misunderstanding to continue. Leaving the office, I headed toward my first lecture. Halfway across campus, someone called out behind me. Adrienne. I turned around. Ryan hurried toward me with 2 takeaway cups balanced in his hands. I wasn't sure what kind of coffee you liked, he admitted with an awkward grin, holding both cups out. So, I bought one of each. I glanced at the drinks before looking back at him. You really didn't have to. I know. He scratched the back of his neck, looking slightly embarrassed. I just wanted to. A smile crept onto my face as I accepted one. Thanks. The change in his expression was immediate. His nervous smile widened into one of pure satisfaction. Yes, he muttered under his breath. Mission accomplished. Before either of us could continue, Emma suddenly appeared beside us. There you are. Her eyes bounced between me, Ryan, and the coffee in my hand. A knowing grin slowly spread across her face. Oh. Ryan let out an exhausted sigh. It's not what you're thinking. Sophia walked up just in time to overhear him. It looks exactly like what we're thinking. Within seconds the teasing began. Ryan's ears turned bright red while everyone laughed. I couldn't help joining in. It wasn't because of him, it was simply how ridiculous the situation had become. For a brief moment, everything felt normal. Friends joking around. Walking across campus together. Laughing over something completely harmless. It had been a long time since I'd experienced anything like that. By the time we reached Computer Science 204, the classroom was already filling up. The professor stood at the front, adjusting his glasses before addressing everyone. Please locate your assigned seats. I unfolded the seating chart. Seat 14. Emma checked hers. Seat 13. Ryan laughed after finding his own. And I'm seat 15. Emma looked from one of us to the other before laughing. I swear the universe is determined to keep us together. The lecture began without any problems. For nearly half an hour, everything was perfectly ordinary. Then attendance started. The professor called names one after another until he paused. Adrian Carter. Here. I answered automatically. Instead of moving on, he looked up from the attendance sheet. Then back down. Then at me again. His eyebrows slowly lifted. The room grew strangely quiet. He adjusted his glasses once more. I have a question. Yes. According to your application. He glanced at the document again. You're listed as female. I know. He hesitated. But your legal documents. His sentence trailed off. Every student waited for him to continue. After studying the paperwork for another moment, he quietly closed the folder. We'll discuss this after class. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Finally. Someone had noticed. Maybe this nightmare was finally coming to an end.